Soon we be shining, young star with a future brighter than a diamond. Then we got them high beats, so who wanna try taking down the game? Cause we're South London's finest. Kicking down the door, soon gonna be on tour. But I ain't got no time to waste, so I keep my feet to the floor. It's big when you see me on board, I'm a big team, we're ready for more. Should've known all of this from...
You know what time it is?
Oh, please, Auntie. Just need to get this track recorded.
Yemi, you have 2 minutes to close everything down and send your friend home. If not, I will pack all your equipment and ship it to your cousins in Lagos.
Layla, Kazim, Layla.
Hey.
I got 4 questions for you. Good luck.
Cass, don't do this.
Bro. Open your door in peace, yeah? Go on, doorman. Go on. Rice or stew?
Rice.
Skepta or Wiley?
Skepta, obviously.
Wizkid or the Banj?
Wizkid.
OJ or the people?
The people.
Nice meeting you. Said the people. Be careful here, yeah? Yeah, bro.
Download the app and subscribe. This isn't just a streaming channel. This is a bold new world of entertainment. Arise Play. Beyond streaming.
Very warm welcome to this week, 60 minutes of analytical reviews of the big stories, topical issues, and all the controversies around the world. I'm Somna Sambo. In the headlines, global rating company Fitch tips the presidential candidate of the Government of Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, to win the 2023 presidential election, but says there may be a breakout of violence. We'll have analysis. And coastal states in Nigeria witness worse floods and environmental disaster as Bayelsa and other states remain submerged, with former President Goodluck Jonathan using a canoe to arrive his country home in Bayelsa. We'll have a deeper insight with an environmental activist. Stay with us. In what looks like an unbelievable outcome of events, the global rating company Fitch has tipped presidential candidate of the Government of Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, to win the 2023 polls. The company in its report foresees that a split opposition vote between the PDP, LP and NMPP will favor the All Progressives Congress. It also states that protests and social discontent are likely to increase in the aftermath of the win. According to data released by the firm, recent polls are significantly overstating support for Peter Obi, the Labour Party candidate, also running in the presidential election. The reports stated further that since only 36% of Nigerians use the internet, according to World Bank figures in 2020, quote, "We believe that these results are skewed towards urban, affluent voters who are most likely to support Obi." We also highlight that these polls suggest that a large share of voters remain undecided, end of quote. Well, joining us in the studio to take a look at all of this is Imani Boro, who is a former presidential media advisor and member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. He was also a former managing director of the News Agency of Nigeria. Nan, thank you so much, Imani Boro, for joining us on the program. Let's start with this report by this global rating company. What do you make of it in the APC and then, of course, the Campaign Council?
Well, Fitch was stating the obvious. They are very well-known, world-renowned organization, and they don't pluck facts from space. They pluck facts from physical, credible evidence. We always knew that the presidency is for APC to win. The facts are clear, and the factors that undergird this truism are that, in the first place, APC controls 22 states of the 36. The closest opposition has 13 states. And PDP, those 13 states of PDP, right now you have about 5 governors walking away from the presidential candidate, as it were. Very much what happened to Goodluck Jonathan.
In 2014, coincidentally, you were there.
I mean, right there.
And you know, one of the APC chiefs in Sami Kire raised this issue and said, it looks like PDP didn't learn. The same thing that happened in 2014 seems like it's what's going to happen in 2023.
Clearly, that is what is going on already. And that is because you cannot build a political career on betrayal, on backstabbing, on double talk. One of the reasons I left PDP was this kind of things. There is no way I was going to stay in PDP to work with the very people who backstabbed Goodluck Jonathan, who gave him assurances and then turned against him. These same people. It is nemesis.
Nemesis. Your principal, Goodluck Jonathan, has gone ahead to endorse Atiku Abubakar. What do you make of that?
Well, he is a PDP person. But I know that in his heart of hearts, he supports APC and Tinubu.
So it should be taken like a decoy.
Well, I'm not saying it's a decoy. You know, he is a PDP person, but he has his own feelings. He has his own thoughts.
So he was just acting as a party man.
Well, he's a party man, but I know in my heart of hearts that he has nothing against Tinubu's emergence as president. And you see how he received Tinubu when Tinubu came to visit him.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of Nigerians are...
And I can tell you, this is what happened in 2011. When Tinubu came to visit him at the State House in Marina, in the build-up to that election, his first election, you know, there were issues then, you know, people weren't sure where Tinubu stood and all that. A couple of days, we went to Lagos, and Tinubu came. And when they walked out hand in hand. The same way they walked in hand in hand. When you see those two people walking hand in hand, you know that things are about to happen. But I will say no more.
Okay, so if Jonathan was able to cut a deal with Tinubu in 2011 and Tinubu supported him and left Nuhu Ribadu aside, who was the ACM presidential candidate then, are you saying that Tinubu has been able to cut a deal with Goodluck Jonathan, and that may add to his overwhelming influence ahead of the elections and probably lead to a win like Fitch is predicting?
I cannot sit down here and tell you that they've cut a deal because I was not there, I was not in the meeting. But what I can tell you from the body language of both men, especially the one that I know very closely, Goodluck Jonathan, you know, he's a man that doesn't know how to pretend. He's a man that when he speaks from his heart. If Goodluck Jonathan doesn't like you, you know. He will avoid you. He will find a reason not to meet with you.
And coincidentally, in that same 2011, Atiku Abubakar, who's now the presidential candidate of the PDP, didn't support then President Goodluck Jonathan. So, is it a payback time?
It's a long story. It's a long history. It's not payback time. Goodluck Jonathan doesn't pay back. He allows time to pay back for him. But it's a long history of Atiku not having Jonathan's back at any given time. It's a long history. Let's not forget it.
Okay, now let's talk about this rating. A lot of people are saying that some of these international rating organizations or polling organizations just seem to be, guessing, doing a lot of guesswork. I mean, but not because they've come into Nigeria to actually embark on polls. These are mere hearsays. How serious should Nigerians be taking the Fitch report?
Anybody, you see, like I told you, Fitch is stating the obvious. I talk to some people who don't understand Nigerian politics, and they say, the North will support Atiku against Tinubu because Atiku is a Northerner. And I ask, the APC Northern governors that put their foot down and said that we have agreed presidency goes to the South, are they from Delta State? Are they from Bayelsa? These are core Northern governors, many of them Hausa Fulani men, because these are gentlemen. They know that a deal is a deal. 8 years to the North, 8 years to the South, 8 years back to the North, 8 years back to the South. It is what has the undergirding of Nigeria's unity is on this rotation of power. So everybody knows that all you need to do is wait 8 years, it will come back to you. And within your own area, you fight for it. If it goes back to the North, then the North will have to decide, is it Northeast or North Central or Northwest is going to, you understand? Dito, as it came to the South, we had to decide. The Southeast, the South-South, the Southwest. We chose Southwest from our convention. It was a good choice, a perfect choice. Probably the most experienced of them all.
Now, but if you look at Bloomberg, it's also rating Peter Obi as a likely winner of the election. But Fitch is saying here that based on the internet population in the country, internet penetration at the moment, which is at 36%, that all those polls previously done did not take cognizance of the huge majority of Nigerians who don't have access to be online to take part, and that some of those polls were not inclusive of every part of the country. It was majorly urban based. What do you make of that? And don't you think people like Peter Obi also stand a chance since he's been endorsed? It's just that we haven't seen Atiku Abubakar being endorsed by any of those other international organizations. But for these two gentlemen, Tinubu here now, and then of course Peter Obi, it looks like the international community may seem a little bit undecided itself.
I do not think so. You see, Bloomberg, they have their own parameters. And their parameters are very urban, very elite. And I say, like Bill Clinton used to say, all politics is local. If you go into the deep penetrations of political influence, of political areas, you find that I doubt, even this 36% that the World Bank, I doubt if it's up to that. People who actually have access and are active using the internet for social media presence. Yeah, people can have access, but how many people use that access to state political positions? So I said this before, the Peter Obi phenomenon, great, excellent. I saw him at the airport the other day. I said, Mr. Governor, you are making waves. You know, we smiled and we took pictures together and we left. I have nothing against Peter Obi, but I also know that the Peter Obi movement is an elite movement, and the people who actually own the votes in Nigeria are these people who are really down there, who are below that median. You hardly know that they are there. But
so are they the people that the APC is targeting that's making Fitch to want to say, look, it looks like these guys are pressing the right buttons when it comes to the electorate, because they were very, very clear in stating that the North remains the dominant determinant of whoever becomes the Nigerian president, and that from the way things are going, that the APC is using its dominance as the governing party to actually penetrate that part of the country. Is that the reason why Tinubu is concentrating more on the North than some of the southern states, especially without even going to the southeast?
Well, let me correct that. I do not think he's concentrating on the north and not concentrating on the south. He's a southerner. He needs to go and talk to the north first before he comes back home to us. It's already our own. It shouldn't spend too much time on us. Let him spend more time in the area where he needs new people, new converts, people who say, okay, yeah, we know you, now we know you better. So it's good for him to start from the north. He will come back here eventually. But that is where he should start from. And let me also tell you something I always say. One thing that APC has going for it is what I always refer to as Buhari's 12 million shock-proof votes.
I think those votes are still there, ready-made for Tinubu to inherit.
I can tell you that the majority of those votes are still in place. And then don't forget, the northern governors who control the politics of their areas are all suddenly as one solid unit behind Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So this combination, you cannot do anything about it.
You don't think some of the governors are cutting deals with other candidates? I mean, like Atiku Abubakar. Look at someone like Nasir El-Rufai. I mean, Atiku Abubakar introduced him to big-time politics, national politics. You think that at the nick of time, when, I mean, it's like 3 days to, we won't see some of these governors actually, you know, wanting to backstab your presidential candidates.
Let me tell you something about power, which I'm sure you know already because you're a very experienced journalist. If an El-Rufai cuts a deal with a PDP president, what happens to his legacy in his own state? Because as soon as the PDP president comes, the PDP in his own state comes alive. What happens? The pursuit of power does not take prisoners. So yes, you can talk, you can cut deals, but when you are cutting deals, what is in Nasir El-Rufai's, what will an Atiku give Nasir El-Rufai as compensation for support that the Tinubu will probably not give twice of?
Well, both of them are northerners and Tinubu is not.
I don't think, if that was the case, then the northern governors, including El-Rufai, had an opportunity when Lawan, the Senate president, was trotted out a few hours to the convention to say, oh, well, party supremacy, well, nothing we can do, and go for him. They did not. They stood on honor. I don't think anything has changed between then and now.
Okay, Imani Boro, let's talk about this issue of violence that Fitch is predicting. If a Tinubu is announced winner, Fitch is saying that there's going to be likelihood of violence like it happened in 2011. Why do you think that they are predicting violence? Is it that Nigerians may not easily accept a Tinubu's win, or some politicians who do not anticipate a Tinubu, we may want to stoke violence?
Well, let me ask you a question. Electoral violence in Nigeria, in the history of electoral violence, what are the critical areas where violence has erupted? The Northwest, Kano, parts of Kaduna, sometimes in the Northeast. All those areas are APC-controlled areas right now. Are we going to...
Except for Bauchi.
Well, Bauchi, which is, you know, yes, Bauchi is just one place in a large area. That's APC on the total map. So are we going to go to Kano to protest against our own victory? No. See what happens, what causes electoral violence is this. You cannot rig an election where you are not on ground without consequences. You come to my village, you come to my ward, and you come and you change the vote there. People will not let you go. But if things follow the predicted pattern, the expected pattern, people are not mad, people are not stupid. They say, okay, well, that's what we expected. It's okay, let it go. But if against the run of opinion, the run of, you know, all local prediction, everything that you know is true, and you see some drama, people will pour on this, nobody needs to big words, people pour on the streets spontaneously, say, no, we'll take this. There's the other place where a lot of violence historically has happened in Nigeria over political is Lagos. That's Tinubu's base. So you think Lagosians are going to come out to protest against their own victory? The violence that Fitch is talking about is violence along the line of that toll gates kind of violence, that elite.
Yeah, the sort of NSAS,
yes,
what you're calling it elite.
Yes.
I mean, people who are actually young people who are backing, for example, some of them actually, I didn't say all, some of them are backing Peter Obi, and that's part of the wave that we are seeing all around. And so, isn't it going to be a cause of concern, even for your party, on how to manage such an occurrence if it ever happens?
You see, that is why from this point on...
Because those young people are full of expectations, and they don't think this election is going to be rigged.
Yes, the young people are full of expectations. And that's why from this point on, we need to keep telling them that, look, elections don't necessarily go the way you think. See, many of them are young and inexperienced. This is the first time that they're actually taking part in this process actively. They've not like us seen the kind of disappointment we've seen in the past. We've seen things that are really hot. You know, I told somebody once that if I was going to die of heart attack, it would have been 2015. When everything, you understand?
But when it was an incumbent and everything looked like it was going your way until...
But we lost it. We lost it. And since then, we have survived.
Well, you were in the presidential villa then. How did President Goodluck Jonathan then manage, his feelings when the results were coming in? Because some of these presidential candidates actually need to prepare their minds ahead too, to know that this thing can actually go against them, not to have the mindset that it's going to be a win all through.
Well, then I was MD of NAN, so I wasn't a president anymore, but I had free or federal access. So all through that period, most of the period election, I was actually resuming work in the presidential villa in the morning, and then from there go to my office. So that's how it was. The very first, I will tell you something, the very first, we were all, none of us believed this was going to happen. In fact, I will tell you, I walked into the villa on the day that the results started coming in. I think the second day. The results were mostly out there, and we were like, what's going on? This thing doesn't look. So I walked in and I saw the former SGF, what's his name, Ayin, Pius Ayin.
Yes.
So I said, SGF, what's going on? He said, no, man, it's fine, no problem. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I said, okay, thank God. So I sat down where the other aides sat, the late CSO, AGC, doctor, we sat there, we were talking. I said, look at what SGF just told me. Everybody was happy. Then, a few moments later, Desiani was walking out because they were inside with the president. Desiani was walking out. I went to somebody and said, Ima, I've been looking for you. So I walked with her outside. So I said, Honorable Minister, why are you looking like this? He said, Ima, we lost it. The figures don't add up.
Especially when the results from the KKK states started coming in. That's Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, and all of that.
I knew, as MD of NAN, I knew that this thing wasn't going well. But, you keep hoping against hope that something will change somewhere. You keep thinking that the president has a secret weapon, a secret strategy. You keep hoping against hope. You understand? But when Desiani came and told me, I walked with her to her car. She told me, the figures don't add up. This thing is gone. It was then. Coming from Desiani, I knew that was it. I went back and told my colleagues, gentlemen, we are dead in water.
And then you had the Orubebe saga at the Collation Center, at the International Conference Center. Yes. Well, as we try to round off this conversation, Imani Boro, I would want you to talk, just before we go into local politics in your states, which I know you're very strong, Delta State and all of that, I would just want you to talk about how APC too cannot think that by this prediction, the election is already won. Because despite this prediction by Fitch, it could actually still go the other way around. This could actually reawaken the opposition and make them, form some sort of alliance or unite, or, the individual presidential candidate like Atiku Abubakar, who is the major opposition, or Peter Obi, strengthen their outreach, and which may eventually lead to your candidates being, losing the election.
Two things. One, thank God you said that Tinubu is walking the north. So he's not relaxed. Nobody's relaxing. Nobody's resting on his hours. Nobody is waiting for Fitch to win elections for us. The man is out there meeting people, pumping hands every day. That's one. APC cannot rest. APC is not designed to rest. Two, how does an Atiku build his numbers when he cannot even reconcile 5 governors? 5 people. You can't reconcile them. All this while, or with all this trouble, that's a red flag. Again, third point, all these Peter Obi votes that's been collected from Southeast and South-South. Some of South are not really much of South-South, a little bit of South-South. They're all PDP votes.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what Fitch actually said. It's a division of the opposition vote, actually. Both the NMPP and the Labour Party votes were actually traditional votes meant for the PDP.
Exactly.
Okay, as we try to round off this conversation, you have been campaigning for your candidate, the governorship candidate of the APC in Delta State, and we've seen lots of things. I mean, accusation between the outgoing Delta State governor and, of course, the APC governorship candidate, Ovioma Agege, on whether projects were done or not and all of that. What's been your reaction to some of the things? I mean, we had the Commissioner for Information here, who's also a presidential spokesperson of the APC, talking about how some of the assumptions by Ovioma Agege are just wrong, that, Okowa hasn't done much projects.
Well, you see, I'm a little tired of talking about Okowa because there is nothing to talk about. It is actually a little embarrassing for those of us who supported him when he came into office. I contributed money, me that didn't have money. I contributed money.
While you were still in PDP?
Well, yes, to Okowa's election. They wrote me a letter, which I still have, thanking me for my contribution. He's a man I know personally. I used to sit down with him to talk, because I thought that this was a breath of fresh air for Delta. I was shocked that even Governor Uduaghan, that we all criticized, Uduaghan left legacies. Uduaghan built that airport in Asaba. At least you have a legacy there. Uduaghan has legacy projects, especially because he was a doctor, especially in the health sector. He had legacy projects. Let this your Commissioner of Information. Can you tell us one legacy project that you look back on for a state that has the highest allocation in the history of this nation?
Well, he actually mentioned several, including a road that's been constructed
they are telling us
the hometown of your governorship candidate.
They are telling us about 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer roads, when the major link road that connects Warri to Asaba, that connects basically one extreme of the state to the other, the road has been under construction for 14 years. It's undone. Did you listen to Mahmoud Akura, your colleague in AIT?
Yeah, very quickly as we try to run over.
Yes. Did you listen to Mahmoud Akura? They went and he said what they do is to call names, to abuse and insult people. After this, now they will go and start insulting, but I don't give a damn. That doesn't change the fact.
So you maintain that what Ovioma Agege said is actually
he is on target.
The reality.
Ovioma Agege has actually done far more. Given his position is in, far more than
because he said Ovioma Agege has not attracted projects to Delta State.
Ovioma Agege brought law school to Delta. Ovioma Agege brought Federal Polytechnic to Delta. Ovioma Agege brought the Defense Space College to Delta. Ovioma Agege, even in the governor's own Delta North, there is a university that's coming there, a Federal University of Agriculture, I think.
Okay. We must thank you We must thank you so much.
What nonsense are they talking about? They are shameless.
Imani Boro is a former presidential media advisor, and of course he's a member of the APC Presidential Campaign Council and former managing director of the News Agency of Nigeria. We must thank you immensely for helping us to shed more light on this. Well, we'll go on a short break now, and when we return, we'll be turning our attention to the flooding that has occurred across the nation, with special focus on the coastal states of Nigeria, where thousands have lost their livelihoods aside being displaced, with former President Goodluck Jonathan visiting his hometown in Otuoke only to find that his palatial mansion is in the midst of water. Stay with us.
you struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I'm tired of trying. I need help. I want to try IVF. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W Initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.vwcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply. The MHSS has successfully financed hundreds of health procedures.
The next one could be yours.
Our music is one of our greatest exports, but our wildlife could be another great industry if we protect it for future generations. Right now, it's threatened by illegal wildlife trade. So please, report wildlife crime and say no to illegal bushmeat. Because poaching steals from us all.
Here's a card when no go give you stress at all. Zero wait and zero queue. First Banky Petra card. Here's a card when no go give you wahala. Zero trouble now for you. First Banky Petra card. Tell off it's farm. Tell off it's spoiler. Who won't break them? Where you want say now only you get them. Nothing fit do one. Sharp payment not the way. Swipe they go, you know the way. Veteran card with the sweet body. Veteran card with no the shape person. We put you first again. First Banky Veteran card, we put you first again. Generate your virtual card, we put you first again. First Banky Veteran card, we put you first again. Just generate your virtual card, hey.
Till the world hears your voice. Till you take over the world.
Airtel, they'll be giving you a 500,000 naira educational scholarship for Zita.
What?
Yes! This is amazing. Airtel wants to rent a provision shop for 1 year. They'll stock it for you.
Hey, God! Hey! Who am I to deserve all these things? Who am I?
It's not over, it only just.
So we'll be doing minor refurbishment of the Mojisola Balogun Rehabilitation Center.
Than you've ever been. Take your chances, you have to try. No need
Wow,
to worry,
that's fantastic.
I go there by your side.
Welcome back. You're still watching This Week, and I'm Somna Sambo. And Nigeria's flooding in the past few weeks has led to a catastrophic humanitarian crisis, with many coastal states flooded. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has visited flood-ravaged communities in his home state of Bayelsa, lamenting the destruction of lives and property caused by flooding. Jonathan, who visited his country home at Otuoki in Ogbea local government area of Bayelsa State for an assessment tour, expressed sadness over the effects of flooding in the community and other areas. He had to use a canoe to arrive his palatial home, which was flooded beyond expectation. The situation is not different in several coastal states like Delta, Rivers, and many others. Well, to dissect the flooding challenge across Nigeria, including the coastal states of the country, is Sonny Ofehe, who is a Netherlands-based environmental rights activist whose activities have focused on the Niger Delta over the years. He's also a politician and governorship candidate of the Young Progressives Party in Delta State. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, let's take a critical look at these issues of flooding and why, despite the fact that flooding has been occurring in several Niger Delta states over the years, the governments there haven't been able to work with the federal government to do more. Governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, had about 2 weeks ago been saying that the federal government should desil some of the rivers, especially River Niger, and then, of course, build more dams. What other solutions can you profile? Because I know you've gone to some of these areas affected too.
Yeah, well, if you look at the situation, water don't just flood without giving information. First and foremost, we must look at the agencies that are saddled with the responsibility to predict our weather and to tell us the nature of the rising nature of our waters. And of course, we live in a time where the climate change is also a problem, and then also the water levels are rising. So responsible governments are looking at ways with which they can deal with water. I live in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands are the best water flood management country in the world today. And yes, what happened was that in 1953, they had a terrible flood situation from the North Sea, and then they said, well, they came together and they said, never again will this happen to us. So they started building dikes, and they started using sea walls to protect their walls. And today, do not forget also that the Netherlands is a low, 22 feet below sea level. And so we've been able to manage water to the level where we don't see flooding. And that is a responsible government that takes the people into consideration. If you travel around, like if you cross the Patani Bridge during the dry season, you will see that, yes, in Delta State, you will see that there's no proper drainage, dredging system. So the water level, the sea are filled with water to the top level. So when there is even a rainfall, you know, there's no passage for the rain to move. And what the Dutch have also done in this way is to create artificial canals. And then this has also helped the agricultural process because they now build
redirect the water and
irrigations. So waters are basically passing through household, farmers, and all that. They can access it, because if you stop the flow of water, you provoke water to come back and fight you. And so when you have a government that is not doing all of this, then you begin to ask yourself the question, what is causing all of this problem? You just said Okowa is blaming the federal government, but the question now is that there is no better time for such situation to happen than now that we're in a political process where debate should be, I mean, the question should be on who becomes the president, who becomes the governor, 2023.
Even senators and House of Reps are not left out,
yes,
I mean, including state houses of assembly
members. So this is a state of
members.
national, I mean, it calls for national discourse where even the National Assembly is supposed to reconvene specially and bring in the agencies and ask them questions. How did we get to this level where we are today? And now we're basically looking at nature to see when the water will take itself backward. And do not forget the economic damage the thing is also causing. We've basically cut out our east and west connection because the roads are flooded,
yeah, the east-west road,
flooded.
which links
Yes.
Most of the states in the Niger Delta. I mean,
definitely. So I was thinking that by now we should have had some government officials traveling to the Netherlands to start discussing with experts in this field on how we can deal with this situation. Even in Delta States, River Ethiopia is reputed to be the African deepest inland waterway. And this can be used for tourism, for other purposes. So we need to first of all go down to the drawing board, look at our problems. I think about a month ago, I was flying to Asaba. I saw the River Niger. It was completely dry. You know, in that situation, you would definitely have flooding situation occurring in all of those places. So the question now is, how do we move forward? I visited a few days ago, I visited one of the IDP camps.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you from a video you had sent earlier, you know, going, commiserating with those who have lost their families. But in all of this, what are the solutions so that we don't talk more about the problem? People need to know what to do so that next year, when the rains come again, they are better prepared.
Once I become the governor of Delta State come 2023, we will begin to find a permanent solution to this problem. Because I'm already discussing with
apart from being political about it, is it a state problem? Because this is a countrywide problem that the government has been saying that starting even from Cameroon through the Lagdo Dam opening and all of that.
Because
and
we
then,
are the last end of the Atlantic
the southern
Ocean.
part of the country.
Yes. So when you don't have your dikes, you don't have, what stops us from building dikes?
Can state governments afford building dikes?
No, you can go to international agencies. This is something that falls within the Sustainable Development Goal project. So if you can bring some counterpart funding, there are many international agencies that can come to your rescue. For instance, we have IDP camps in the northeast of this country, funded by the United Nations. So what are the government doing? What kind of collaboration are you seeking? We have a university two universities in the Netherlands that can bring practical solutions to the problem. Are you engaging them? First of all, you need to engage them. And when you engage them, when it comes to the issue of the funding, then you begin to use your capacity to look for the relevant agencies that can help you to deal with this issue. Do not forget that it is even the poor people that are even being affected. And where they have been kept now is an eyesore. It does not even meet national standard, let alone international standard.
You could have seen an example, sorry to just cut in there, of former President Goodluck Jonathan claiming, he was on the canoe trying to get to his house. This is the second time it's happening. The last time it happened in 2012, Goodluck Jonathan was still the president of the country. Is it that he didn't anticipate that such a thing will repeat itself? Wasn't anything actually done? Those are the pictures. That's him. You can actually see him right there. Is it that the government didn't learn more from that experience, and we're having this happening again? What should states and the federal government be doing to prevent such a situation again?
You see, when it happened the first time, I think around 2012 or thereabouts, there were damages. We waited naturally for the water to recede back to the sea, and then it occurred again now. And then we are waiting again for the water to recede back to the sea. Do not forget that water comes in once and then retreats, comes in the second time, retreats. The next one that will hit us might be in the form of a tsunami, which will not only flood people's home, but take the homes along its path.
We don't have records of tsunamis in this part of the world.
Yes, but the thing is, we need to put in a practical solution to this very issue, because if you don't find a solution to this problem, then the construction of your roads is wasted. Your agricultural policies are going to be affected, because when we face this kind of situation again next year, it's going to sweep our roads, it's going to sweep our agricultural produce, it's going to sweep everything along its path. So that is why the ecological challenge we currently face is paramount, and it should be in the front burner of any campaign discussion. From people like you in the media, you should put it before people who want to occupy public offices come 2023.
Yes, you have just raised something very important, and I want to take you back to your home state of Delta State. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa is one that is said to have done very well in the issues of areas of flood control and all of that. Based on what you have seen, what's your assessment as an activist, and now you are a politician? Are you seeing things from a different perspective now that you have joined politics?
Probably we're seeing
than when you were an activist.
No, I still see it as an activist. Probably we're seeing it from different binoculars, because what I see, when there is even a 5-centimeter rainfall in Asaba, the whole place is flooded. Traffic is completely stopped. There is no means of moving around and all of that. So the situation has not been tackled properly.
Despite the investment of the government in drainage controls, flood control, and all of that.
We don't even see those drainage properly. Because if we do see this drainage properly, Asaba is not even supposed to be flooded when you have just a rainfall. Because we can be able to line up drainage, that can lead the water to the River Niger. Then it comes down to the issue of dredging again. You need to dredge. You need to dredge at least a minimum of 10 draft, feet down. You need to dredge. You need to allow the water to flow. You need to allow them to go out. Then you prepare the tributaries. That's a federal function, No, what about the tributaries? What about the waters within the states that you can lead to? If you do that and you begin to face this challenge, then you have an evidence to show that the federal government is not cooperating with you in all of these issues.
And what sort of solutions have you been offering? Yes, you are here to get into government. You're contesting to be a governorship candidate. What sort of solutions have you in the past past, as an activist that's well-renowned, been doing to provide some of these solutions so that people can get some relief before you come into office, or even if you don't win, so that at least there's a bipartisan approach to a humanitarian crisis?
Yes. I've been talking with the Rotterdam municipality. I've been talking with a lot of multinational companies that are very much experienced when it comes to the issue of putting state-of-the-art anti-flood mechanism in place. But the thing is, in Europe, once it is not government, they're not ready to deal with private companies, or because they feel that the security issues in the country, the bureaucracy that is involved, the bureaucratic procedure involved in doing business in Nigeria are so cumbersome and complicated. So it discourages them from doing business. Now, the kind of persons they want to work with in Nigeria, irrespective of the security threat and all of the other challenges, is somebody that they have a relationship with. And that relationship is what I have with majority of these international agencies, regional agencies, and even companies and academics.
Which you think will be helpful?
Yes, which will be helpful when I come into power.
And your chances are also another thing, because you're actually in what some people will call a fringe party, the YPP. What are the chances of a YPP in Delta State, for example, that will make people want to, take serious your ambition?
A lot of things have changed in 2023. The Electoral Act is there to protect to cover some of those loopholes of malpractices that used to occur in the past, and then people are beginning to wake up and feel that their vote will count in 2023. I just did a 1-week run around of Delta State. I saw the enthusiasm in the people.
The flood?
Yes, I just did that, and I saw the enthusiasm in the people to want to see a change in their government. So what is about to hit Delta State politics will shock even the political bookmakers. I cannot guarantee you that.
It's left for the electorate to decide. But back to the issues of flooding now. How could a whole state like Bayelsa State be submerged? I mean, you can see the visuals that are coming, large swaths of land being swallowed by water, people living practically for weeks now on top of this water. Even the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, his mansion completely swamped, the east-west road cut off, a whole state.
Yeah.
What do we do so that we have...
just like what we said about the country Nigeria being at the receiving end of so when countries open their dams, the water comes to us. So if we don't have a better protection system, then we get overflooded. If we don't give passage for those waters to move, then we get flooded.
The coastal states are paying
and Bayelsa is just on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. So they are the receiving end. So they will be most affected with this flood situation. Then the questions still come, like, as a government, you should have seen this coming. You should have known something about this. So if the federal government is not cooperating with you in trying to deal with this situation, then take your initiative, take your steps, and come out in the open. Speak it out. This is what I expected any decent government who have regard for the lives of its citizens to have been doing before now. And none of them is doing it, and we are still not doing it. We are currently debating on who is
so there's so much talk about politics rather than actions.
Yes, we're not dealing with the issue that affects our corporate existence. And apart from that, the economic damage, the toll that it has on our economy is even killing at this moment, where we are even struggling to survive. So what about if it takes 1 year for the water to recede? Are we going to live like that? I mean, a journey from here to Benin that used to be like 5-6 hours, people spend 2 days on the road, and heavy duty trucks are even compounding the situation even more. So this is where we are, and nobody is talking about it.
As an opposition politician, what do you think the federal government ought to have done itself that it hasn't done? Because building of dams can be very expensive. We see what's going on in Zungeru, Kashimbila, that the government is actually doing, but others are still calling for more dams. They should work with state governments and all of that. How do you think that, as we get into the election next year, people can, hold politicians to account and say, okay, tell us what you are going to do in concrete terms, both at the federal and state levels, on how we can prevent this from happening in the next 5 or 10 years?
You must look at your institutions. The institutions that are saddled with the responsibility to control all of these flooding situation we have today, you must strengthen them. You must ensure that people with the technical know-how are appointed to take those responsibilities. And also you must ensure that they are properly funded and their actions are transparent. Once you build that institution, then you can begin to look for international partners with the technical know-how to come and help you deal with the situation. The solution is around the corner. The solution is out there for people to see. But the question is, do they even understand the complication, the effect? And because it does not affect the big man who lives here in Abuja, it affects the poor people who lives in the shoreline areas. That is why probably we're not taking it serious.
Yeah, but the big men are also beginning to pay for it. Some of their some of the houses they built in their in their country homes and all of that are being flooded.
Probably they have money and they have friends who will give them money back to replace it. But what about the people who don't have those opportunities? That is what we should be thinking about. Climate change cannot be blamed on what is happening now in Nigeria, because in the last 20 years, our rainfall and all of other geographical issues have not changed dramatically for us to say this is the cause of the problem. What we have now is a man-made problem.
Yeah, but the government officials are also using climate change as an excuse.
That is why, but it's not. This case of flooding in Nigeria has nothing to do with climate change at all, even though we understand that climate change would have impacted the level of water rising up. But what we have now is a man-made problem, is a failure in government, institutional failure, and until all of that is corrected, moving forward into 2023, we will experience this same thing again by September, October of 2023. And only God knows the extent of damage that would have caused to the damage that we already have right now.
Well, people are becoming very poor by the day because of this, and of course, a lot of lives are being lost, over 600 at the moment. As we try to round off this conversation, Sonny Ofehe, you have been in the Netherlands, and we've seen this environmental degradation going on in the Niger Delta, and some groups, including you, fighting for the rights of people in the Niger Delta, you know, taking companies like Shell to court and all of that. What's been the update on all those struggles and all of that? Is that the reason why you're getting into politics now? After you know, fighting the IOCs for a long period of time.
Well, we recently, the pipeline issues have been in the news, that there's been diversion of crude and all of that. So whatever is coming out now is not a surprise to us. At the international fora, we've always told the oil companies that it's a shame that Nigeria is the only OPEC member that do not have a metering system. They do not know how much of crude oil
is it that we don't have, or the IOCs control the metering system?
Well, they say we don't have. So therefore, it is the IOCs that tells the federal government what is produced on a daily basis. And then also, we don't have the means to even keep our excess crude that is not being sold. So everything has to leave on a daily. They come to Rotterdam and they stay there, demurrage are paid here and there. But we've told them that if you truly and genuinely know and you want a solution to this illegal oil bunkering situation, you know, losing 100,000 barrels of crude oil per day, running into billions of dollars annually, then you should mark your crude. You should mark your crude. Like, for instance, in the European countries, if there's an oil spill on the North Sea, just by the mere coloration of the oil spill, you can know if the crude is coming from Norway. So mark your crude, so that when you mark your crude, you separate the legitimate OPEC
and when you say
quota.
Mark your crude, what do you mean?
Color them.
Okay, color them.
Yes,
oh, there's a system of coloring the crude oil.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
You color them, so that if you say, okay, well, our national color is green, white, green, you can say, okay, Nigerian crude is green. So when they get to their destination, the coloration is taken out of the crude. So with that, you can be able to legitimately, you know, identify the OPEC quota from the so-called stolen crude that people are flooding in the international market. So that is one solution on its own. And until we have this ability, and of course, why will your pipeline be even running above the ground? in the 21st century. They're supposed to be buried.
These are things that we hope to investigate. And I just hope that as you're trying to get into politics and into government, if you do find your way into government, you'll be able to, help in realizing some of these policy decisions, because it has to boil down to policies. And how much reaching out are you doing to party members and all of that to help them understand these issues?
We're doing our best. We're educating the people on what they should be looking out for in the next coming days, months leading up to the elections.
All right, we must thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is an environmental rights activist who is an expert in the environment, and of course he's also getting into politics right now to contest for the governorship of Delta State. We can only wish you well as you try to cut your teeth in governance. That's how it's been for this edition of This Week. We must thank you for watching, and thank you so much for being on the show. Well, remember to show kindness to victims of flooding near you. And of course, you know that if you do want us to have any videos of you facing this challenge, you can also send them to Arise News. We must thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm Somna Sambo. See you next week.
A reflection of the Nigerian never say die spirit. They never stay down. You're always thinking of how to improve. You're always thinking of how to move forward. My name is Emmanuel Ahimieho. I've been a civil engineer for 18 years. I'm the project manager of Obajana Kaba Road. The Obajana Kaba Road is 43 kilometers built completely of concrete pavement. We started work on December 2016. I remember when we came here, it was virtually lifeless. We're building a road that we know will need very minimal maintenance. It's a road that we don't need to rush back to in 5 years, trying to carry out major maintenance work. We don't need to import anything that we need on the road. They are all locally available materials. All the cement we use on this road is from Dangote Cement Factory, which is the largest cement factory in Africa. The sand is from the communities, so people from the community, they end up becoming suppliers. Imagine supplying sand for a 43-kilometer road. It's a lot of money. There are things I've learned from building this concrete road that I never knew 10 years ago. And to be able to lead those people to achieve something worthwhile, something that is of value to them, to the community, to people who have never met us, and I am positive that the road will outlast most of the people who are building the road. Along this route, you have up to 12 communities. People have the confidence to open shops. Why? Because someone is going through the road, they sell their things, they sell their goods. That is more money for them. We have a number of eateries now, and you want to buy food along the road, you get fresh food, not food that are preserved. No, you get fresh food. So it is good for us, and it's good for the community too. The road is a lot more safer now for everybody, including Halima, including other travelers. So they have better road, lesser crime, shorter journey times. So a lot of advantages. I've had people who go through the roads and they stop to just say, well done. We are proud of what is happening here. We're happy that this is going on in Nigeria in our time. We can see it. They are proud of it. I think it has brought life back to the communities. I feel very proud, extremely proud being a part of this project.
As you adjust to the new realities for operating your business and engaging with your customers, let us help you transform your business into a digital powerhouse capable of adapting and taking advantage of today's opportunities. With our best-in-class array of digital solutions, you can conduct your business, receive payments from your customers, and perform transactions quickly, safely, and conveniently. because we've got you covered with the right people, technology, and service offerings. Contact us today and let us take your business to its zenith. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.